So today, lads, we're going to be talking about Sydney Colson, and she went on to Aaliyah Boston's podcast yesterday and talked about the kind of negativity that she received from being a part of the Indiana Fever. And we all kind of know that that's something that
is taking place recently. Sydney Colson revealed something that confirms everyone's fears about the Indiana Fever. On Aaliyah Boston's show, she admitted that after joining the Fever, she got more hate than. Throughout her whole career, the only thing that caused folks to turn against her was her signing with Indiana. The harsh comments shocked even an experienced player who has always been popular in the league. Do WNBA players who choose to play for the Indiana Fever deserve hatred?
I'm playing, we want things to look like what we want them to look like. And I knew coming into this season, once people started talking, once I was here and experiencing it, like, people had a lot to say. There was a lot of
The WNBA definitely wishes Boston's podcast hadn't disclosed Sydney Colson's presence on Aaliyah. Some startling information: Colson didn't sugarcoat the criticism she received following her admission to the Indiana Fever. Rather, she discussed it openly. For the first time in her professional life, she admitted that people aggressively hated her, and the only reason for this was that she had joined the Fever group. That's a ridiculous discovery that confirms the difficulties Fever players have encountered during the season, which most have been hesitant to talk about in public. Colson explained that although she knew that joining the Fever may attract attention, she wasn't prepared for the level of hostility she actually faced. She said that over her career, she had been generally well-liked. She is renowned for being friendly and funny. Even though some people didn't find her comedy funny, it wasn't because they didn't have the same sense of humor as her. There was a taste difference, but joining the Fever radically changed all of that. Now, she was getting waves of criticism from those who had never had a problem with her before.
And I just looked at it like, I'm not used to this. Typically, I'm the person that people are just, oh, we love Sid, that's funny, blah, blah, blah. Some people be like, not funny, and I'm like, they don't have a sense of humor. But like, for the most part, for the most part, people have liked me and have admired me from the outside, but that's never made me do the things I do. Like, I do the things that I do because I enjoy my teammates, because I like comedy, because I like whatever I'm doing, not for other people's approval. So once I got here and was experiencing people's disapproval, it didn't really faze me because I still understood. I think I understood even.
Colson is a seasoned player with years of league experience, which is what makes her remarks are really significant. She has played for a number of teams. She has faced numerous situations in the changing rooms. She is not a young athlete who doesn't know what normal looks like. Consequently, her claims are credible. Claimed she had never experienced anything like the animosity she had after joining the Fever. She's got a comparison point. Additionally, how other players and fans responded to her hiring makes the really toxic Fever scenario. Colson stressed that the animosity was not a result of anything she did. People hated her only because she was associated with the Fever. The fundamental premise is that she didn't change. Her charm and sense of humor did not go overnight. She didn't do anything controversial or problematic. Signing a contract with Indiana was the only thing she did incorrectly, and that was more than enough to make everyone hate her. That demonstrates how much the Fever is hated by certain WNBA fans and possibly other players.
You for no reason, I'm probably exactly where I need to be. So once the injury happened, I'm like, once again, this is something that I don't fully get, but this must be where I need to be, sidelined. And it made me an even more vocal leader. It made me pay attention to things maybe that I wasn't paying attention to that other people had going on, so I could be more tapped into if they're having a hard time and I need to come over here and help them out, whether it's mental, physical, whatever. I had to get outside of me. And that was the lesson that I learned in this. I hope it's the one that God wanted me to learn, but yeah, it was just one of those things that, nobody wants that to happen, but you still have to move forward and figure out a way to still be,
Colson's response to an analysis of that hatred is the fascinating part. According to her, when she was comforted that she was in the correct place when she realized that people were condemning her without any justification. Typically, it's a sign that you're doing something successfully or that you're in a situation where people don't want you. They're in peril. Colson appears to understand that the anger was not directed at her. It concerned the importance of of the Fever and how the group's accomplishments threaten the established order that some individuals are devoted to maintaining.
But that's something that's happening with all these players. Is like they're just not in any way happy as long as they have to publicly hate the Fever. And you know, the only way you can get back into these people's good graces is by pulling a Dawana Bonner. By just not playing for the Fever anymore, it doesn't matter. You have to pull.
Carlson also revealed that she really wanted to play with the Fever. She didn't hesitate to sign this. Or as a last resort, since she was unable to find a better offer, she especially wanted to be in Indiana. She probably talked to Kelsey Mitchell about the team culture since she liked her. She became aware that she and Caitlin, given their similar personalities, Clark would probably get along with them. She considered her character and the Fever would be a good fit for this type of play that makes the hatred she endured even more absurd. She chose Indiana because she wanted to be there, and people punished her for it. Colson's encounter was more compounded by the fact that she had to battle with a season-long injury. She was forced to miss a lot of time because of a meniscus tear. In any event, being disregarded when you've just joined a new team and are trying to establish a reputation for yourself, however, managing it while also being flooded with unjustified hostility from fans and even hidden hostility from players on rival teams. Carlson claims that the injuries made her an even more vocal leader and made her more conscious of her teammates' hardships so that she might support them more effectively. That statement regarding motivating teammates is noteworthy because it suggests Carlson was aware of her heated colleagues also dealing with challenges and negativity that may not have been seen from the outside. She portrayed herself as someone who could provide emotional and psychological assistance to her comrades in difficult situations. That's what an experienced leader does, and the Fever required it, but it also demonstrates that the pollutants did not simply harm Carlson. Directed at the Fever, many of the team's players were affected, and they needed support to deal with the unjust hostility aimed at them. Carlson's willingness to openly declare that she was hated for no reason is heartening. Obvious cause, most players steer clear of that information. While some negative will be addressed, it will be explained or reduced away. Colson just gave an explanation. She was hated by many since she joined the Fever. Stop completely. No further explanation could be found. This openness is essential because it validates what Fever supporters have stated all season long. The treatment of Fever players and supporters is abnormal. It is more than just sports rivalry or competition. It's more personal and unsightly. Especially fascinating is the similarities to Dana Bonner are mentioned when discussing this. Following Bonner's recuperation from the illness, the hostility toward her suddenly disappeared, given that she was no longer associated with Indiana. She was once again welcomed back into the WNBA community. This pattern suggests that the hatred isn't really aimed at specific players or their behavior. It has to do with the Fever organization in general and Caitlin Clark's connection to it specifically. A player's association with the Fever taints them. It leaves them open to hatred that is unrelated to them. This puts Fever players in an impossible situation. They can't win. They are charged with exploitation if they are successful in the court of receiving positive treatment or following Clark's lead. If they have difficulties, they are teased for being penalties for failing to keep up with Clark or for impeding the team's advancement. They are said to be fake. Anyone trying to profit off Clark's fame if they endorse her or speak well about the team culture. If they don't say anything, they are accused of being jealous or of not standing by their colleague. There is no way to placate the haters because their hatred is unreasonable in the first place. Colson's comments also show how the Fever become the most polarizing team in WNBA history. They get more love and hate simultaneously more than any other team. In other sports, major market teams operate in a similar manner. Your supporters will admire you and despised by everyone else. If you are a member of the Cowboys, Yankees, or Lakers, the examination and focus are grew. Every mistake gets blown out, every accomplishment is minimized or ascribed to benefits instead of rather than skill. That's what it's like to be on a squad that is more important than others. The difference is that in those joining the controversial club is usually a move that demands understanding what you're committing to. In other leagues, the players know what it means to be a Laker or a Yankee. They understand the stress and attention it entails. Players in 2024 and 2025 may face the most attention and hostility the squad has ever received in WNBA history. Clark's entrance drastically changed their situation because they had no idea what they were getting into. What it meant to be an Indiana player. Colson's comments draw attention to a damaging facet of WNBA fan culture that is very harmful to the league's growth. When players are unable to sign, leadership must take action. With specific teams without encountering animosity and resentment without a valid basis, the WNBA should be honoring the fact that one of its teams has become so prominent and well-known that it receives a lot of attention. Instead of supporting a popular team and player, some supporters seem to want the league to stay tiny and specialized. For Colson, finding more disparaging comments and insults is particularly upsetting. Targeted her for contracting the fever. It goes beyond merely disapproving of or criticizing her decisions or manner of playing. It's personal attacks and insults that transgress the norms of proper discourse. That kind of toxicity deters people from engaging in the sport, rather than being exciting however, it gives the impression that the WNBA is unfriendly and petty, the way their players are being handled. Should shame league leaders, but there hasn't been much of an effort to confront or expose it. The statement made by Lexi Hull is another example of how nonsensical the anti-fever sentiment has become. Is being hated as well. Hull works hard and completes her tasks. She doesn't use profanity or cause debate. However, she gets hate merely for being on the roster and being close to Clark. That is absurd. Role players on well-known teams shouldn't be mistreated just because they play with a celebrity. But in the current WNBA environment, being linked to the fever and Clark specifically makes you're a target. Colson's claim that her actions are motivated more by her enjoyment of her friends than by getting other people's praise is an excellent method to deal with irrational hatred. Individuals that hate you without cannot dictate your choices or force you to be sad. Colson understands that the negativity says more about the people, more about it than it does about her. She has the self-assurance to see that and refuse to let it to change how she performs her role in the team. It could be challenging for younger athletes to display that degree of emotional maturity in the same situation. Given how the season played out, it is accurate to say that clubs ignored the fever and covered the cost, due to their belief that the fever were just Clark and a bunch of uncompetitive role players. It's clear that several teams underestimated Indiana and expected simple wins when the fever appeared and performed. Those teams were embarrassed because they worked hard, played well, and won games they weren't supposed to win. Teams that failed to adequately prepare or take seriously the fact that Indiana's games were lost due to the obvious contempt, the pattern became increasingly more apparent. Once Clark's ailment kept him out of action, teams that came up and gave it their all won those games with ease. They give it their best, because most people were unaware of how good the rest of the squad was. Teams that believed they would win with ease without the best player losing a lot. This proves that the fever was more than a single player. However, the narrative had already been established, and many teams and supporters refused to accept evidence to the contrary. To alter their viewpoints, instead of using the For You page on social media, it's a good idea to use the following tab. Professional athletes really shouldn't be consuming intermittent self-criticism, especially the day after games. On social media, the algorithm's objective is to demonstrate your participation, which usually means showing the most provocative and unpleasant perspectives, since those illegal reactions are the reason for moving to. Following will only display content from people you have choose to follow, which you can curate to be helpful instead of detrimental. However, it is unrealistic to anticipate that young athletes will completely give up social media in the current day. Their brands are built on social media networks, their presence in social media, and the value of their endorsements is often determined by their engagement. They are meant to talk to each other, their supporters, and promote their sponsors online. For additional up-to-date information about WNBA business decisions, kindly subscribe and like.